When people talk about rich countries, some are very quick to point out countries which have gold, countries which have platinum, and countries which have vast amount of natural resources. The DRC has very many deposits of gold, deposits of cobalt, deposits of copper, deposits of very many minerals, but a significant population of the people who are living there are below the poverty line as reported by the World Bank. Meanwhile, countries like South Korea, Japan, Singapore have attained massive economic transformation over the years, yet these countries have very few natural resources. So this raises a fascinating question among people. What really separates a rich country from a country that is still developing? Today, we travel across history from the Industrial Revolution in Great Britain to the rise of Singapore to the growth of South Korea to explore and find out factors that separate a wealthy country from a developing country. This is the Policy Room, and my name is Eboga Brennan Omara. Before we answer that question, what separates a rich country from a country that is still developing, we have to first understand what it means for a country to be wealthy. Wealth implies your ability. Wealth is how much you are able to access when you need it or at any time. That is the definition of wealth. For a country to be wealthy, that's a country that has quality education, a country that has improved healthcare, a country that has improved infrastructure, a country that has productive jobs, a country that has opportunities for the future. So a wealthy country is a country that is continuously productive in its economy. That is a wealthy country. So for us to understand productivity, what is that we mean when we say for a wealthy country is a country that is productive? Productivity implies producing more value with the same effort. If there's anything you have to remember from this episode of the Policy Room, this is the most important statement you have to remember. A wealthy country is a productive country, implying that it can produce more value with the same effort. For instance, take an example of two farmers. One uses a hoe to grow their maize, while the other farmer is using improved seeds, is using irrigation systems, is using improved machinery. Both farmers are working very hard, but their outputs are going to be significantly different because the one who is using improved seeds, modernized methods of agriculture, that farmer's output is going to be so big. And the difference here is productivity. Productivity is the difference between these two farmers, though all of them are working hard. So imagine this principle of productivity being applied in all sectors of the economy. Imagine we are applying productivity in schools. Productivity is being applied in hospitals, in factories, in businesses, in every activity that is being done in a nation. So when it's applied, a nation will tremendously achieve massive economic transformation. Hence, it will grow even to levels that the citizens have never believed. So, what really makes a country productive? We have to explore what really makes a country productive. First of all, for a country to be productive, it implies that a nation is investing or it is increasing investment in the human capital development. Here, I mean not only investment in education so that learners in that nation can go to school. Here, I imply the skills, I imply the knowledge, I imply the experience and the health of the citizens of that nation. So if more investment is being directed towards human capital development, that increases or it improves the productivity of that nation. For instance, take an example of South Korea. In the 1960s, South Korea was poorer than most of the countries in Africa and some countries in Asia. The leaders then in South Korea, they realized that their greatest asset they have in their nation was the people. So the leaders then invested highly in human capital development, and through that investment in human capital development, they were able to achieve a population, or the citizens of that nation, they were able to achieve certain skills and certain knowledge, and hence that skilled labor force was able to produce very sophisticated products. They were able to produce massive technologies, massive innovations, And today, South Korea is home to global companies. For instance, Samsung is from South Korea. Kia Corporation, that produces Kia Motors, is from South Korea. LG, that produces home appliances, is from South Korea. And all this has been because of the increased investment the nation then was directing towards the human capital development. It's not a one-day thing. It is something that you continuously grow. And as time goes on, when the population is skilled, they are able to have that ability to be able to produce things that even other nations will even be shocked of. So it is because of the investment in human capital development. Beyond that, we have to look at the strength of the institutions of that nation. For a nation to be productive, we also consider the the strength of the institutions. Here, when we mean institutions, we are not talking about buildings. In fact, economists define institutions as the rules and organizations that shape the society of that nation. So, when we are talking about the strength of an institution, here we are meaning the parliament of that nation, the courts of law, the regulatory authorities, the tax bodies, the ministries of that nation, the departments of that nation. Because if those departments are very, very much so strong, this leads to the growth of trust both internally and externally. For instance, would you invest billions of dollars in a nation where contracts are not enforced? Probably not. You cannot invest billions of dollars in a nation where contracts are not enforced. You will not. It is through that trust, it's through the trust that comes from strength in those institutions that investors are able to invest money. So when they invest money into these businesses are able to produce jobs. When they produce jobs, these jobs are able to lead to income being earned by the people who are working. And so when income is earned, it will lead now to productivity of that nation. So the strength of an institution is also very key when it comes to driving the productivity of that nation. Additionally, I'll talk about infrastructure development. Infrastructure is also a key when it comes to shaping the productivity of any nation, because infrastructure drives or it assists in the development of a nation. Take an instance, even though you have a skilled labor force in an economy, without infrastructure, the skilled labor force will find it difficult to come up with technologies or products that will drive economic growth. So infrastructure is very key, because when their roads are there, farmers are able to transport their products from this location to the market. When the internet is there, students are able to search online and gain information. When electricity is in an economy, it is through that electricity that will be able to transform manufacturing. So infrastructure is a very key driver when it comes to driving massive massive productivity in a nation, because it is through productivity that a nation is able to achieve prosperity. Furthermore, technological development of a nation is also a key factor when it comes to driving the productivity of a nation. There is no leap in history that has ever happened without engaging technology. So technology is very key when it comes to driving productivity in a nation, because it is through technology that you're going to use less effort and you are going to achieve maximum output. So, when you look at the history of the whole world, it is through the steam engines. Steam engines have never left Britain the same. Steam engines transformed the economy of Britain during the Industrial Revolution. Now, electricity has never left manufacturing the same. It is through electricity that manufacturing has changed. So, and now today we are looking at the AI. AI is now shaping global economy. So technology is so much of a key factor in driving the productivity of a nation, because it is through technology that you're going to produce massive output with less effort. So technology is key in achieving productivity of a nation, and technology moves with two factors. Technology moves with research and innovation. For you to achieve technology, you have to be doing research. So technology and research, they move together. So for a country, for a nation to achieve a productivity in high levels, they have to embrace research They have to embrace technology because it's through technology that they are going to produce more output. So, what does all this mean for Africa and the whole world? So, Africa has an advantage that Africa has a young population, Africa has fertile soil, Africa has natural resources, and all these are already benefits that we are having. I like it that Africa has started picking up when it comes to productivity, that industries are growing, manufacturing is advancing, and the nations and the whole continent is achieving massive growth when it comes to productivity, of which is a good thing. But we have so much advantage as Africa, and through this principle of productivity, which will lead to prosperity, we are able to achieve massive economic transformation that will drive the growth of this continent. In summary, evidence and history has taught us that nations do not become productive by mistake. From the Industrial Revolution that occurred in Europe to the growth of the Asian tigers and to economic development of nations like the United States, it has shown us that productivity is not achieved by accident. However, productivity is achieved by deliberate decisions that have to be taken by nation. The decisions to invest in human capital development, a decision to invest in infrastructure, a decision to invest in technology, a decision to invest in strengthening the institutions of that nation, so that a nation as a whole is able to achieve massive productivity that will lead to prosperity. Foreign aid can help, natural resources of a nation can help, but none of these can be a replacement or a substitute for none of this can be a replacement or a substitute for the foundation of productivity. Productivity is the only source that leads to the prosperity of a nation. Thank you very much for joining us today for this episode of the Policy Room. Please don't forget to subscribe in our YouTube channel at Omara Eboga and be able to follow us every Saturday as we are able to discuss issues that will lead to massive economic transformation of Africa and the rest of the world. Bye.